Hello and welcome to another episode of the Independent Producers Organization, or IPO. Today is June 14, 2017. You probably haven't seen me too many times on this program, but I'm very excited and honored to be here. My name is Dennis Gleason and I am a producer in the city of Portland, a few hundred programs under my belt, and I'm here today to talk about a program that is near and dear to my heart, one that I also happen to produce and have been involved with since 2008. I'm very excited to also be the producer of the program itself, not just the television aspect of it, and that is Teen Idol, as you can see behind me in big giant letters, kind of obnoxious actually, but it's so that everyone sees it and loves it. I have some guests we're going to go over, some fantastic people you see in front of you, and one more will join us later on in the program, but we're just going to talk about Teen Idol and a different program that it's become since the city of Portland used to manage it back in the old days, and what these guys think about their experiences with it, whether they have any recommendations, etc. So without further ado, let's go ahead and meet some of our guests here. First of all, we have Rain Ezra. Rain, how you doing?
Good, thank you.
And Rain Ezra, that's not your real name, but you go by Rain Ezra. What is your real name?
Rain Pollock. Ezra is my middle name, but I always thought that it kind of just sounded better when you put the middle and first name together, and just made a nice stage name that kind of rolls off the tongue for me. Kind of grew up getting called that a little bit too.
Gotcha. And I think it's really ironic. I don't know many people named Ezra, and it's really funny that not only one do you have Ezra in your name, which of course is a book in the Bible, but the fact that Ezra was also another contestant that same year that you were there too, which is kind of, kind of a quinky-dink, so to speak, if that
cool.
term can be used. Probably not too many times on television, but it's kind of funny to have it in there. And we'll talk a little bit more in depth about you and your background. And our other guest that we have today is Jesse Rosario. How are you doing, Jesse?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing really well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So Jesse he's started out being a Beaverton Teen Idol finalist.
Correct.
And then he went on to transfer from his program or that program into regular Teen Idol, which is a bigger umbrella program. Beaverton was ran by the city of Beaverton, and ours was originally by the city of Portland, but
Yes.
it's been annexed, and now we have just one Teen Idol for everything, basically. And I know you're going to talk about a little bit about your inspirations and where you're going, but I do want to say, since it's live and you can't take it back, right? I am very honored and very, very impressed by your dedication in this program.
I appreciate that.
Although you might have been a while ago from a lower thirds will be put up on there for you, Jesse, but the program itself is designed basically for you to go through a tour and perform and make yourself look good and learn how to be a professional artist, not just a singer, not just get up on stage, but an actual artist. And not only did you get up there and did you perform for the finals and for the tour, but you have stepped up and done just about everything I've ever asked you to do. And it's not just the fact that you're willing to do it, the fact that you're willing to learn it and do it well is what really impressed me. Most people can take a stab at stuff, but you did an exceptional job. For those that aren't familiar with the program as much, we do have a Spanish division. We'll be talking to the winner later on tonight. And even though he wasn't a Spanish contestant, he filled that spot. And we appreciate that, obviously, Jesse, because you came in there and you performed with other people and helped fill the space that we need. So thank you very much for that.
It's my pleasure.
And the second thing is, you also took the job as a director for a day.
Yes, I did.
You took the role with another individual that was our communications director at the time. Her name was Tania Russian, and because myself and the director at the time, Jen Russian, were at a wedding for a former Teen Idol finalist and a Parks person, and so everyone that's pretty much ran the program since the beginning of the time were gone.
Yeah.
Way up in Washington somewhere, and you did a great job from what I hear.
Thank you.
The students did awesome.
Yeah, we were the dentist for the day.
The dentist for the day.
Yeah, we got to step in your shoes, and it was a lot of fun.
So tell me about your experience in general for
Sure.
maybe not necessarily compare Beaverton Teen Idol, but in general for the overall program as you saw it. I mean, what value you may have gotten out of it? Did you like it, dislike it? What are your feelings about your program experience?
Well, my experience with Teen Idol was definitely unique and definitely something that I had never experienced before. I've done a lot of performing at church, and I've done a lot of performances when I was in high school, and I've done a different singing competitions when I was younger, and obviously being raised in theater and doing a lot of things with acting. And the thing with Teen Idol is it's just so personable. And working closely with you and working closely with all the other contestants didn't just make me feel like I was in this for a strict competition and I'm here to win this. It was about building an experience, meeting new people. It was about learning so many different things in such a short amount of time that even I impressed myself.
Good.
So by me saying that, it's obvious that Teen Idol was a positive experience for me and one of the most positive experiences.
Now, you went to Aloha High School?
Well, I went to the International School of Beaverton and I graduated from Aloha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you were with Beaverton Teen Idol, were you with ISB or were you with Aloha at the time?
I was with Aloha.
Oh, well,
yeah.
okay. And for those people that might not be familiar with Aloha, it's part of the Beaverton School District.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so as far as other contests, is there any prep for those, or you just pretty much show up at this time and do your best?
I've been to contests and auditions, and it's always, in your own time with your own family, and I'm, hearing the song over and over with my mom, and she's coaching me, and there's no real preparation besides watching yourself in the mirror and crossing your fingers and hoping you do the best, and
Sure.
that's something that Teen Idol has under its belt that's so different, and how closely you work with all of us and are able to help us and prepare us for not only a singing competition but performing and being part of a group.
Which is important because, as you pointed out, most talent competitions, there's a little bit of camaraderie. There's a little bit of, I'll help you if you help me type thing, and usually it's an imbalanced thing. And what we did is we took everything that's normal rules of engagement, and some people don't like it for that reason. Usually those are the people that are not involved anymore or not going to be involved, that usually have the negativity because they don't actually experience themselves to know. We believe that to be really, truly, honestly good at whatever you're doing, and you're part of an overall bigger team, you can't do it in a vacuum.
Right.
It just doesn't work. You have people show up and they have different types of attitudes, and they have different types of obligations to either their friends, their family, their careers, or whatever. I try to make it, if at all possible, as a family. You're always going to have a brother and sister you just don't want to talk to, and you want to probably beat them up a few times here and there. But the general consensus is that we want everyone to feel like they can come to the program, whether it be rehearsals, actual competition round, or during the actual summer tour, and know that they're going to get the support they need, not only from us, whose job it is, but also the other students.
Right.
How many rehearsals for the finale did you have? Do you remember?
I think we had 2 different rehearsals
Right.
on 2 different days.
And that was, I think, a Wednesday-Thursday combination for
Right,
yours,
yeah.
and one was pretty much individual, and one was for the group song, and those
Yes.
that are struggling. And what we did is we figured that's how the city of Portland had ran it for years. And it was like, we need to do better.
Yeah.
And so what we did is, after your year,
Lucky me.
we actually went off and did a little bit more, and
Right.
and we'll talk about that in a minute when we talk to Rain. But the previous year to you, in which the winner that we'll be talking today was not involved with because he was in the Spanish program, but that year was an express year. And we had, if you can picture this, right, yours was over like a 2.5 month period of time from round 1 to the finale.
Right.
Long period of time between the 3 different rounds. And the previous year, because of scheduling problems that we had and issues with the venues, we had round 1, day 1, on June 30th. Okay, so after the normal finale is supposed to happen, we had round 1, day 1. Day 2 of round 1 was on July 1st. And then we had the semifinals the next weekend.
Wow.
So 1 week from literally congratulations, you made it on to the next round. We need your songs by Monday or you're out of the competition so that you can be on there for the next weekend. And then the finale was exactly 2 weeks after that. And so they went from the 7th to now the 21st of July. And mind you, we've already started the tour.
Right.
Performances were happening and people were volunteering to come and perform because the new finalists weren't even out the door yet. And so you actually got it much better than the previous year. So count your stars on that one.
I was really close to auditioning the year before, so.
Did you?
Yeah.
But you were with Beaverton Teen Idol the year before that?
Not the year before that. The same year I did Beaverton Teen Idol, I went to Portland Teen Idol.
Okay.
Because I unfortunately didn't place in the top for Beaverton Teen Idol, and you approached me,
right,
this enthusiastic, exuberant man, and said, "Hey."
Kissing up does so much.
You said, "Hey, do you want to join Portland Teen Idol? You have a great voice." And I was like, "Well, you're right, so I guess I should join."
Well, that's awesome. And just to clarify, the Portland Teen Idol, the Portland got dropped off. And we stopped Portland proper in 2013, and now it's just flat out Teen Idol, since we really don't operate just in the city of Portland. We have contestants from all over the metro area, and then we also perform from Clark County, Washington, all the way down to Eugene. So we really don't have a set boundary per se anymore. So, but is there anything that you'd like to tell aspiring English or Spanish singers out there, that might be thinking about, hey, I might want to try out for Teen Idol, but I'm not really sure? Any words of wisdom for them?
Yeah, definitely. It was something that I was hesitant to do because any competition, any type of performance, you always have those nerves, you always have those what ifs, but Teen Idol is something that has been a building block for me as a performer, and I've been able to get opportunities to perform countless times with Teen Idol and outside of Teen Idol. I will always have Teen Idol on my resume because it has been something that has helped shape me into the performer that I am.
Okay.
I'm not as scared as I am to go in front of a crowd. I know that I don't have this constant nagging of I have to win, because when it comes to this competition, we all are winners, as cheesy, as cliche as that might be. Because of the work that you do, you made me feel like a winner, even though I didn't win.
Thank you.
The money would have been nice, but
of course it would have been nice.
But because of Teen Idol, I have so much more opportunities, and I encourage so many people to audition, no matter where you are in your performance career, whether you've been singing your whole life or if you just started singing in your shower a couple months ago. Teen Idol is a place where you can definitely expand and grow on all of your strengths, not just being a performer, but being able to direct like I've been able to do, being able to think quickly on your feet, being able to adapt, being able to do interviews like this. And so I would say that for any teenager, it's crucial for you to do Teen Idol if you want to learn how to be a performer and just a well-rounded person. I definitely believe that.
Well, I appreciate that. And not only did you go out there and perform and you do the directing stuff and providing whatever we needed, but you also hosted and emceed different events for us, including with the Oregon State Fair Talent Competition. You helped MC that one for us when we were helping with that program. And on top of that, you come and perform for Teen Idol, and you've emceed for the actual competition rounds in the past. And you're always here and you're always around. You were a judge for us at the semifinals this year. And so you really have pretty much worn almost every hat. We're going to get a few more hats put on you before the decade's out.
I'm coming for your job, Dennis. Look out.
You can have it, actually. And all the pay and benefits that come with it, which means you're putting money out of your pocket. So, but I'm excited. If you want to take pick up a role, that will definitely give you that role. So, any other words of wisdom you want to provide for our audience or anyone that might be watching or anything like that?
I just want to thank you, Dennis, because you're the one that without you, none of this would be possible. None of us would have this experience. You're the backbone of this program. You're the backbone for a lot of these students who don't have a lot. And the best thing is that this is a free.
Right. Which
where can you get that? Now you have to pay for water at Starbucks. So and so the time that you put into this and the energy that you put into this, I will be forever grateful. And I know the rest of the contestants, even if they don't like to show it, we really care about you and we're really grateful. So
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate you coming on today. And now we head over to Rain Ezra.
Thank you for having me today.
Absolutely. You got a chance to talk. I talked way too much. It's kind of like, that's what I do, unfortunately. But you have also had a significant role, and you were season 9 for Teen Idol.
Correct.
And a little bit about you that I want to say thank you for. And this is my opportunity to get on my podium, so to speak, and talk about people that really have made this job worthwhile for me. Because really, it doesn't matter what you do if the people that you're involved with don't appreciate it and really show that they appreciate it. It makes it very, very disheartening, and makes you really not want to put forth the effort, money, energy, and everything else. And you were one of those people that not only did your job, what you had to do, but you went above and beyond, not just after your year, but on your year. And that's the key, because, like Jesse, he came back and he helped and did all these things. But most importantly is that you helped as the year is progressing. Now, Jesse, he had the disadvantage of only having 2 rehearsals for the finale. How many rehearsals did you have?
Definitely did not have 2. I remember, I think it was almost over the course of, I believe it was almost over the course of 2 weeks. I had a couple rehearsals, a couple just working on individual performance and feedback, and then a couple working on the group song.
So it was 6, so
Yeah.
It was 6 total. You weren't at every single one, I think, but you tried to be at every one. There were 6 total, and we had one for the semifinals as well, just to get people together. But that was a change in our understanding of what needs to be done and how long it's going to take and the work that goes into it. And this year we're only having 4. It's partially because of the shortened timelines and some venue changes that we had. But did that help prepare you better than maybe a day would be?
Oh yeah, I think not only did it really prepare me, but I feel like a lot of the contestants got to kind of bond over that course of time as well. And I think the first couple of rehearsals, it was a little bit difficult to get people to open up to each other. And when we were giving each other feedback, it was kind of quiet. But then eventually, by like the last couple days, everyone was rooting each other on, like begging, like everyone was raising their hand, pick me, I want to tell you what to do. Or like everyone was like really close to each other, and I feel like it just like helped bond everybody, and then it helped the group song become a lot better too, because then everybody was like into it. And I think the extra rehearsals are key.
Now with the group song specifically, you actually helped not only do your own part of it, but you actually came out and said, hey, I have an idea. No, hear me out, I have an idea. Right? I say it all the time. Some people listen, some people laugh. Some people say, shut up, you're talking too much. But you took the song that we had, added stuff to it, and then helped choreograph the whole thing. So you helped make it all work, and as a thank you, you became the Pure Award winner, right, for the year, and that was given to you by the other finalists. And I want to say thank you because it made our job so much easier. It was the director Jen's job to do the rehearsals, and she obviously does a great job as a former Teen Idol finalist herself and performer. But that one specific part, it's really hard when the kids are thinking, well, this is not really going to help me personally succeed in this program. I'm not going to get anywhere if I do a great job in this this team event. And the reality of it is that's not true. The reality of it is that if you're doing a group number and one person fails at it, then they all fail, right? You all look bad. And so by you saying, you know what, I'm bigger than that, I'm gonna do what's right because I wanna look good, and that's not gonna happen unless we all look good. So I wanna say thank you, first of all.
Thank you, because I actually love that opportunity. That actually helped me decide what I wanted to do as a career in my life, because it was, I think, a part of everybody us having extra rehearsals and everybody being closer to each other helped the fact that everybody wanted to do the group song and not really care about too much being in the spotlight. But for a long time, I was having a difficult time figuring out what exactly I wanted to do as like a career, because I knew I wanted to do something involved with music, but there's a lot of careers that are difficult to get into in that industry and make a good living off of. So actually, after I got with all the members of that group because they're all like amazing singers. Everyone can harmonize with each other really well. You can't pass up that opportunity. You
Right.
got to start singing songs that everybody's into,
Right.
and everybody starts coming and singing along, and it's like magic. Like I didn't even do most of it. I just said, sing this, sing this, sing this, and it started like making magic. And so I'm actually really happy that it ended up working out. But yeah, I'm directing an a cappella group now because of it.
Awesome.
And I didn't think I could do it, but then after Teen Idol,
Yeah.
I definitely feel like I have the capability of like working with other people. I discovered a passion of mine that I never knew I had in just like making a cappella music and making music with other singers.
So how old are these other students? Are they
The
high
ones that
school
I'm
or?
I'm
Right.
directing a high school a cappella group at Cleveland High School.
Cleveland. Okay.
Yeah, called High Altitude. And
High
we're-
Altitude.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're now turning into we're going to be an all-girls group next year. We were co-ed for a while, but I think we're going to experiment with all girls again.
Okay.
And yeah, it's just definitely, I hear what you're saying about getting people committed as well. I've had a lot of struggles with, getting high school students
Sure.
to all commit and come into a spot. So I really applaud you for doing that with all these teens. It's definitely, Teen Idol's also definitely been an assertiveness type of training for me for High Altitude, because coming back for the season finale, semifinals that you guys
Semifinals,
had
right.
a while ago, I got to be in charge of all the contestants,
Right.
and it gave me a really good opportunity to like work on managing high school students.
I think the term you're looking for is herding cats.
Cats.
No, come on, with a pitchfork.
I know, right? And then it's like, because I think the most difficult thing is that instructors and directors, you want to be assertive, but you don't want people to not like you, and it's like a really difficult thing when a lot of people are talking, and you're like,
Right.
hey, y'all gotta shut up.
Well, it's correct me if you disagree, but isn't it like a kind of a balance between authority, directive, and at the same time, you also have the element of, I don't want to necessarily just get you to do something. I want you to choose to do something on your own.
Yes.
It just happens to be what I want you to do.
For real.
But do it in a positive, hey, I'm going to get something out of this. It's going to benefit me. Hey, I really want to keep my job, so to speak. I mean, we have let people go before if they don't, it's really hard to say, I'm sorry, but you're just not cutting it. You're a great performer, a great singer, but you just aren't all that great at listening. You're not that good at following instructions.
Yeah, it's really about
motivation, things like that.
like getting students to actually want for themselves what you want for them.
Right.
Is the main thing. I think that's something that really encouraged me to get into this
Okay.
this field, and because I feel like I got a lot out of Teen Idol, and I want other people to have that experience too, and so I'm also trying to recruit my high school a cappella group over to Teen Idol as well, because just Teen Idol in general, as Jesse said, you don't only get performance experience,
Right.
but you get directing experience. You get to perform in like other venues besides a competition. So
Right.
over the summer tour, that was really, really nice to be able to perform in like different locations and kind of get a feel for like different crowd sizes.
Sure.
I remember the last performance we did at the Kaiser Iris Festival. It was a really
Right.
small crowd size, but it made my nerves so calm that I was able to like access a level of my vocal skills I
Sure.
haven't been able to do before, and so that was really fun. You definitely get to experience some really fun opportunities, and I liked that fact that you brought somebody from The Voice or something to one of our rehearsals for one of my finals rehearsals, and she got to give us some feedback. I
Right.
think that was really nice hearing some feedback from another professional vocalist who's
Right.
been on the actual competition stage, kind of gave us some like tips and
Sure.
stuff, and so that was really exciting too. The whole program has just been a huge, tremendous help to me.
So how did you first learn about Teen Idol?
Well, it's actually really funny. So I moved here 6 years ago for my sophomore year in high school, and I was in the 39th Powell district, and I saw a car go by with a Teen Idol sticker on it, and I just moved here, and I was really, I don't have any family or friends up here. My dad
Sure.
and I moved up here for a fresh start, and so I was like, oh, there's a music opportunity just driving
Sure.
by. Well, I need to call it. And it was funny because at first I saw it once, and then I was like, oh, well, I mean, I didn't see the number on it or anything like that. But then all of a sudden I saw it parked right next to my house. the other day when I was like walking to school, and I was like, oh, well, there it is. This is a sign, and I called you guys up. And so it was cool because the director, Jen, was actually, I guess her mom is like my neighbor or something.
Right, yeah, exactly.
So I ended up getting to see it from her car sticker. But yeah, and then I went to the Mount Scott audition, Mount Scott or something audition, and yeah, I think it was a really, really good opportunity. I'm really happy I didn't pass that up.
Right.
There's no other music things really for you out there when you're under 21.
Right.
A lot of the music scene here is like going to the bars and like
Right.
performing with other bands and stuff. So like if you're a soloist who's under like a teenager
Sure.
and looking for a free opportunity
Right.
also, it's just perfect and amazing. And it's like top dollar opportunity. I remember that the finals, I was so excited when your wife started, like, got her whole makeup team to do our makeup and our hair, and I was like, this is the first time I've gotten professional hair and makeup
Right.
done. And it just like, it felt like the real thing. It felt like a mini American Idol. It was super awesome.
Well, and glad you mentioned that, because that is something also that we want to make sure was very unique. Is most programs, and wherever the contests are, they start narrowing it down, and you're thinking, okay, so what do I get, when I'm in this program? And if you pay $19.95, just kidding, if you get down to that top bracket, which honestly originally started out with top 10 plus some backups under the city of Portland. When I took it over, I thought that was a little bit different or unique and not what I wanted to do, so I had a winner and then 10 finalists. And then as time went on, I'm like, we have so many performances. We need a few more people just so that we have enough bodies to perform. And in one case, we actually were triple booked in the same day. We had a performance in the afternoon, and they had to rush to another one in the evening, and then we had another one at the same time in the evening. So we can be at several parks at one time, that we have more students. And plus, unlike the City of Portland's program, we actually bring people back. I mean, we at the Iris Festival, we had students from your same year, we had students from the year last year, and we had students from previous years, one from a couple years earlier and one from way back to season 3. And the idea essentially is that they can keep coming through, and the end goal is, okay, what do I get? What if I win, right? And of course, just as a cash prize, it's only $500. It's not really over the top for the winner. It's not really for that purpose. That's just an extra, positive thing. And second and third get smaller cash prizes. But that summer tour is a big thing. And like, as you mentioned, we have Michelle Boxall. She's a award-winning makeup artist and hairstylist, a celebrity makeup artist and hairstylist that works with pretty much everyone in town at one point or another. The Obamas are her clients, etc. And it happens to be my wife, which is why she's my boss. But she actually gets a crew of people come in from Fagan's, one of our sponsors, and she says, let's make sure these kids have a great experience and look fantastic on stage. And so myself and the MC and the judges and all the students have an opportunity to say, not only do I get to look great on camera, but I also get a professional headshot that I can now take with me, and I can use that for as long as I want. And we're so glad that we can provide that. Most programs don't provide that at all. Most people would even think about it, let alone actually do it. They're like, hey, Sally, let me do your hair. Okay, Jen, go ahead, you do my hair, I'll do your hair. And two girls that are taking care of each other, but not necessarily like everybody. And the boys have to deal with having to have their makeup done. Yes, boys, you have to have makeup done. It's television, you got to do it that way. But overall, the experience that comes to it, not only do you walk out of there with with a satisfaction or dissatisfaction, the end results for your year came out that you didn't end up top 5, but I guarantee you that had the day been different, or a different song, or different judges, or anything, that might have changed, because during the whole season you were exceptional. And sometimes anyone that's a professional at anything, you always have one of those days. And I think you did a great job, but I'm not a judge. That's fortunate for me. Michael Allen Harrison, I think, is one of the primary judges that year, but you still did a fantastic job. And you made the program look so good.
Well, that's what I love about Teen Idol. You don't have to win or place top 5 to even have it make a difference in your life. I think it's like a great resume builder, because you get you get some awards on there, so you can have an award section on your resume. If you stick with it, you can have directing on there, which is a really, really good asset on a resume, I
Right.
think. And even judging,
Sure.
I think could also be really good. And I think if you're looking for any type of music industry career, I think Teen Idol just gives you a lot of opportunities to put good things on your resume and get your foot out in the door and meet
Sure.
new people and network. And so I just think not even placing top 5, I've still earned so much from being in the program. And
We appreciate that.
highly encourage people to not try out to win, but to try out to get
Just
their
try
foot
out.
in
It
the
doesn't matter
door.
what you do,
And
right?
just to meet people and to get these connections, because if without this in my life, I probably would not be living in Portland anymore. I probably would have been like, bye, there's nothing for me here.
Well, thank you for
But-
staying in the City of Roses. But you mentioned that some people have taken their experience with Teen Idol and they've really done something with it, and they said, you know what, I love the experience that I got from the program. I want to go further than that. And you know, most of everyone that's watching this already knows that American Idol's coming back, and they're starting auditioning this summer. And you know, not only are we very fortunate to have American Idol, contact us, or Fremantle contact us and say, hey, you know, you've given us fantastic talent before. Will you give us some more fantastic talent to try out for this year? So, you know, fortunately, you and our other guests here today are going to have the opportunity to go jump in line there and get a chance to perform for American Idol again. But, you know, over the years, and not that long either, we are very fortunate to have 4 people that have done, I would say, exceptionally well on the program. We had 2 students, Madison Shanley and Maria Massa, that had made top 100. And then we had Lovey James a couple years ago from Hillsborough that ended up being top 24. And then Aubrey Cleland, which ended up 11th place. I think it's the only year they ever had 11th place on American Idol, where they went on tour and everything. And she was one of those students. And those all got to start here at Teen Idol, Portland Teen Idol, whatever it was called at the time. And I look back and I say, well, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? And am I effective at it? And when I see success like that, I know that at least for some of the students, the answer is yes. Do you think I do a good job? I mean, did I do a good job with you?
Of course, that is.
Don't have to kiss my behind. I mean, it's true if you believe it or not. I mean, I want the truth, but
going back to what Jesse was saying, you are definitely the backbone of this program. I would not be anywhere without you specifically. You've taken a lot of initiative in buying us all, making us feel comfortable at the rehearsals and getting us food
Right.
and making sure that we're always feeling comfortable. And I feel like you always give us really great networks and opportunities and performance opportunities. You're super nice. You're not scary, which is really.
I'm not scary. I
lot
can be
of-
scary.
You're authoritative and not scary, which is good.
Gotcha.
You help us. I really liked that when we first met you, you helped us with our grammar. I'm not saying and
Right? I was going to say something, however, but
you
yeah.
did that. Thank you so much for everything in this program. Really, definitely
Well,
are
you're very
the
welcome.
reason for all of the success.
Well, I thank you very much. I appreciate that. And is there anything you want to say about all the students that might be out there that, you know, Jesse sent his piece? Anything you want to say inspiring students or whatever in whatever language, or you know, whether they can sing or not, to participate? I mean, do you have any words for them?
Anybody who is craving to be in the music industry, either being a singer or director or even production-wise and comedy, because I'm pretty sure you guys do comedy stuff as well. Even if you're a Spanish speaker, speak a different language, definitely take this opportunity because it will get you into the real world of the music career more than a lot of other things will. I'm going to college for music right now, and
Awesome.
I've done a lot more with this program than I've done in college for music right now. And so definitely take this opportunity for any type of music or production related cause, because it's definitely gonna put your foot
Sure.
in the door.
And it wasn't too expensive, right?
Oh no, it's free,
Free.
so it's awesome, yeah. And you can get paid sometimes too, so it's
Right.
really
Because
nice.
you showed up to an event, and the event was, you know, you're just going to perform like you have a dozen times before, and they paid us to come out and perform for that day. And although we normally speak and take the money and give it to the program, we figured, you know what? I think it's important that if you're an artist and if, you know, the program's getting paid, that we should share the wealth. And, you know, granted it's you know, a nonprofit, and granted we put a lot of money out of our own pocket, but I thought because of that specific event, it was for the Kaiser Iris Fest, and it was our first time at the event. We wanted to make a great show of it, and it was a little last minute request, but you guys endured very, very high heat. It was not only hot outside, but it was hotter inside the tent,
Yes.
and I think
Oh
it
my
was even
goodness.
outside. And the performers on stage, even the first ones that were hardened Teen Idol finalists that have performed over and over and over again, they were like heat exhausted. They didn't realize that they hadn't drank enough water until it got to 95 degrees inside that tent, and they go, "Well, I need to step off for a little bit and catch my breath." And I think, and I hope you agree, that by putting you guys into maybe a little bit awkward and weird situations by going to different venues and trying to find where to park and find where the entrances are to things, and knowing that you have to get there so much earlier, call times an hour before you start, an hour and a half if you're more than 50 miles away, like the State Fair and in Marion County, in all these events that are far down south. And that it helps teach you that when you're trying to be a professional artist, you can't complain about the weather. You can't complain about how late it is or how early it is. You can't complain that you're tired, you don't feel well, or whatever. You have to really just buck up and do it. And what I really, really, really appreciate are those people that not only just do what they're contractually obligated to do during their season so they don't get fired and feel the shame of getting replaced, but the ones that keep coming back, like yourself. I want to tell you how much I appreciate the fact that you're willing to do not only for yourself but to the program and give back, like Jesse was earlier. And you're not a minority in that regard. There's so many people that that fortunately I feel lucky. Actually, I think I did. It really was luck with a little bit of experience and making mistakes in the past. And you have one problem here and you fix it later. You have another problem there, you fix it later, and you try to make everything all work out. And sometimes it doesn't all work out. Sometimes it's really just, well, that didn't go well. You forget to put that clause in the contract that says you can't come back, for instance. And we had people in the city of Portland that came back 2 or 3 times throughout this, when the city ran it, because they didn't have constraints. So you had students that had previously known all the people, they know all the rules, they know how it all works, they know all the directors, and it gives them a leg up. And I'm like, that's not right. We need to fix these things. There was a year, I think there was no boys in the finals, and it was like, why not? Why are there no boys in there? And it's like, well, the boys just didn't do as well as the girls. And it's like, well, sometimes you're just going to have to make it work. And so that's why we have a requirement that there's a certain number of boys in the program. So we spend a little bit more time recruiting. And to give you an example, this year we had the highest number of boys versus girls in, was that English? Girls? Girls in the competition than we've ever had.
Those are really good boys in this year's competition.
You like the boys in there?
Yeah, they had some really powerful singers. I mean, even when I was in, Ezra killed it. I mean, like, a lot of people killed it. Since I've been a part of Teen Idol, I've definitely seen a lot of good male vocals, but I've also appreciate that you've taken into account to judge them like separately and actually have make sure that it's even and that there are boys
Right.
in the finalists. I think it's really important to have a director that puts those things into account
Sure.
and actually recognizes people for coming
Right.
and participating extra in the group and actually giving people rewards for that kind of stuff. I think it really helps people actually do something.
Sure.
So thank you for that.
You're very welcome. And again, this is a maturity thing for me. I mean, I had to learn. I didn't just walk in here and just know, okay, I can do a great job on a program. Before you, I mean, Jesse could tell you, he seems like he had a great experience at least. And we'll talk to Daniel here that's in the room here in just a minute here. But the idea is that we take every single thing that worked and we try to apply it forward if we can, and take everything that didn't work, throw it away if we can. Sometimes you have to just modify it or whatever. And it really is a lot of trial and error. And as anyone that's ever been a teacher, coach, mentor, trainer, it doesn't matter. You can take the same thing that worked perfectly for one group of people and the next year it just doesn't work at all. And one thing that you had mentioned is the group of people, and every year I am so surprised. And you think I would have it down by now. I worked with all these kids for so long. I know who's going to do what. It never works out that way. And you have these people that are these students that come in there and they have really no experience, and they're like, well, I just want to do okay. I know these guys are so good. I don't think I'll win, but I'm going to try my best. And they come up and they surprise you, and then they surprise the judges. I mean, the judges don't know these people. That's the important part for me, is that if, at least for the finals, the judges aren't supposed to know the kids at all. In fact, when Jerome Kersey's daughter and Arlene Snitzer's granddaughter was in their program, we changed their name, literally changed their name to their maiden names or their mother's maiden names. So when they competed, no one knew who they're related to. And that was just to make sure that they wouldn't get up either too strict or not strict enough of a review. And the important thing to understand is that some of these take that for granted, and they really slack off, and they come to the finals and they think, well, I got it in the bag. I just want to pick my check up and go home. They show up, and you guess what? They weren't alone. There was a lot of other people that showed up, but in the other ways. And we also changed how we decided who was in the top 15 as well. We now have decided, you know what? We need to do more than just numbers alone. And we have proven that it has become a great way of measuring talent is not all by the numbers. It's not a pageant. You know, it's not a calculated type of assessment where whatever the judges say today is what is going to happen. We decide at the semifinals that we're going to put 15 people through. We have 10 people that are for sure going through based on what the judges say. Hey, these guys deserve to go through. And then we say, okay, who are these people? Who are these 10? We agree with them. They're through. But those other 5, they're not necessarily the next numbers in the line. Sometimes there could be people that have showed great leadership, people that have had great attitude, you know, did their best at filling the seats, which is part of being an artist, right? I mean, no matter how good a singer you are, if you don't have people showing up at your events and buying tickets, then you're not an artist. You're someone that likes to sing very well. That's it. You're really not an artist at that point. You're just, you know, it's like school. You show up a choir and that's it. But I appreciate your feedback. I appreciate the fact that you got something out of it and you're using it and moving it forward, as some people really just haven't done that. And you know, I'm looking forward to what you're going to be doing for us this year and in future years. So thank you very much, Rain.
Me too. Thank you too.
So now we're going to get to our final guest, and we won't be talking forever with you, but your program experience, and your name is Daniel Nunay Herrera, right? And it'll be on the lower thirds here in a minute, but you have a very unique situation in many different ways. One is you tried out for the English program and the Spanish program at Clackamas Middle College the same time in your year, right?
Yeah.
And what happened was, we're like, you did an okay job. You did enough to go to the first round on the English side of it, but you also did a fantastic job on the Spanish side. So when we called you, I remember I was pacing in my backyard at the time, say, Daniel, we reviewed all the other auditions. The judges agree with my assessment that we believe that you were the best Spanish singer of everyone that tried out that year. We couldn't afford to do a full-on competition like we do for the English program. It has a lot more people in it. How were you thinking? What were you thinking when we said, hey, well, I know you want to be in the English program, but hey, you have a chance to be the winner. If you just say yes, I'll do it, of the Spanish program. How'd you feel?
Well, when I got that email, I was like really happy, because in the first place, I was finding out that I'd, you know, potentially be moving on at all in the competition, and I was really happy about it. But the Spanish winning opportunity was one that, again, like, is really hard to pass up.
Sure.
And I just was, you know, I knew that I'd have a lot of other opportunities if I went ahead and took this one. It would open a bunch of other doors.
Right.
And so I was feeling like I should talk to my family about it, and they all basically told me what to do, and that was to accept that.
You listened to your parents?
Yeah, I listened to my parents.
It's live television. He can't take that back. So it's a fact. He said that he listened to his parents. It might have been the last time, but he did. No, but that was the important thing. And it's sometimes easy for someone to say, oh yes, it's a bigger title, I want it. But the reality of it is, it wasn't just about the title, because I was there at every single audition that the Spanish had that year, and you honestly were the only one that even acted professional. You're the only
Aw.
one that, you know, that,
Thanks.
well, because the rest of them, they did an okay job singing. I think you still did better, but the overall package when they came in, the other ones that were there, most of them were impatient, and I'm not sure exactly why. I think it was probably because most of them came on one day, and it was at the end of the day when we were going through, and they had to be last performing as well. And it was a different location, obviously. And you were the one that went up there, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it in English. And I think you learned the Spanish one was that day
Yeah.
when you were at middle college, and you know, one of our former finalists had hooked us up, and you were like, okay, I'm sure I could probably figure something out in Spanish. Yeah, I speak Spanish. I sing in Spanish. I can do that. And you know, I appreciate the fact that not only did you take the responsibility of being the winner, which is a lot more than a typical finalist, right? You have to show up at more things and be available. Whenever I snap my fingers, you're going like, I'm sorry, you talking to me? I mean, no, you have to jump and say, okay, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And for you specifically, and Jesse was in this similar boat, you came to every single performance. You're like, I'm gonna be there. I don't care where, I don't care when. You tell me where it is, I will be there.
That's a really good impersonation of me at that age. At that age.
Really?
Yeah.
At that age, now that you're all grown up and everything, right?
Right.
But it's an important thing that most, I guess, students, and it's probably getting even harder now as time is moving on for, you know, teens to figure this out, that you gotta show up. And you gotta show up on time. You gotta be ready.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you can't just say yes sir and yes ma'am or whatever. You have to actually be your own person too, and you know, be intelligent. But you showed up, you did a very good job of performing, and you got better. I could tell through the season. And you both did English and Spanish performances during the tour itself. You got a chance to do both because you're a winner, so you always had, you know, rank within whoever you're up with. And you've come back and you've helped out with, you know, participating in the Spanish program as well, and you know, different times and performing, you know, and it's appreciated very much. Mm-hmm. And we know you can continue to come back and continue to sing for us, and you know, from your year. That was the Express year where everyone pretty much a whirlwind. You weren't directly involved in that, you know, 3 weeks from beginning to get-go, but you were at the finale, and you performed for us that day in July 21st that year. You know, what did you see? What were your observations your year when you came in pretty much without any experience whatsoever other than the audition? You showed up at the finale at the, you know, Multnomah Arts Center, and what did you see? What did you expect, and were you disappointed or excited?
I was not disappointed at all. For one, I was like thinking a lot about how, wow, this is all of the students who are like kind of a diamond from their schools, and it's just from, you know, all different areas that you're pulling kids, and those people are basically the most, you know, talented, but not only talented, professional and team players at their school.
Right.
And also really invested in the music that they're putting forward. And so I thought that was really beautiful, because for some people, they definitely have that talent, but they don't see that around them.
Sure.
And at the caliber that is that competitive. So I was really impressed by that and really excited to get to work with all these people, and not only work with them, but learn from them
Right.
as well, which was one of the most important things that I did get out of the program.
Sure.
But when I showed up there, I was definitely under the impression back then that there was a whole bunch of people working on the program. There's got to be a director, you know, other, you know, 5 to 10 different people in charge. But now thinking back and realizing that it was really only just maybe 1 or 2, 3 people who are mainly in charge of it,
Right.
one of them being yourself,
Right.
I'm just completely in awe of how that's possible. And it's just amazing.
Thank you. Although that year was complicated, the finals is done by a lot of people. And we
Mhm.
had, let's see, it was 2013, right? I think there was like 65 people there, 64 people, I think was the final count.
Just kidding then.
But of those 64 people there was one person's job to do production. There was one person's job to get hair and makeup done for everybody. And then there was me.
Mhm.
and everyone else was one of those departments. And that was one of my fun years where I get chronic migraines, and I was down for an hour and a half in my own program, but I didn't have to do much more than open and close, right? But it's always interesting, especially if you see it behind the scenes and you see what's coming in and how all these ants running around build this, anthill, and no one knows if there's a problem going on or if there's a mistake being made or what have you, because everyone is so eager to say, hey, let me help with that, let me do this, let me do that. And that was a very challenging year, like I mentioned earlier. We're talking about having a couple days of rehearsals 3 or 4 days before the finals. That was the year where we had 3 weeks from start to finish and all the competition rounds. Rehearsal was at 10 o'clock the previous morning, okay, at a church in the West Hills. And they had their song before that for the group song, but they had to learn it and choreograph it that show. And so, or for that day, all of it, just the day before, right?
Sounds fun.
It was a whirlwind, tell you. And that was when we really wanted to do more. We really did, but we only had 2 weeks, and the first week is eaten up trying to find the song selections and get everyone to agree, get them to practice, and then to show up and have a place to do it at. It's a nonprofit program. I mean, no one, except for, what we can afford, we pay out and we cover whatever losses or whatever the differences are. And, we're 501c3 now, so we're hoping that there'll be sponsors that maybe come and say, hey, I want to help with this program. I want to help with your volunteer team, your alumni association, or English or Spanish, or, you mentioned our comedy program. We had stand-up comedy, but we had to cut it because of funding. And, our Russian program, we just didn't have enough contestants. That was the problem with that. We put it out there. You say, hey, we have a program, come out and do, perform in Russian. You get a chance to go around the city and do it in your own language and then also in English. And we just didn't have enough. We had 1 year where we had enough students, and that was it. And so the Spanish program, we've had, a couple successful years, but like last year, unfortunately, the city of Portland had a reorganization in parks. The gentleman, Jeff Milkus, had been working with us for many, many years. He created the program in 2007, gave it to us in 2011, and he was reorged out of the department. And even though there was promises that were made, it just ended up not working out. And we went from a positive swing, like we had the previous year, to almost half the budget after we already spent the money, mind you. So we were actually about $6,000 deficit last year that came out of my pocket, essentially. But at the end of the day, to see what comes out of it from you guys, and see you guys' smiling faces and you guys telling me this, because you guys are saying this, but I didn't pay you obviously to say it, and you guys are a dime a dozen as far as people that have these stories, fortunately. At least I like to believe so from when I've ran the program. I really appreciate the work and effort you guys put in to make me look so good. You think it's all about me, and yeah, I do a ton of work, and the really small, not really over the top website we have is pretty basic, but that's what I can program myself, right? It's what I can do because you guys deserve it, what you guys need it. And, for me, it's like, can I make a difference? And, given the feedback you guys have in the previous IPO shows that we've done, the Teen Idol shows itself, apparently it has,
Tremendous difference.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
And I would definitely say that if you put in what you can to it and even extra, then it really will change your life. It opens so many doors for you. Like kind of like Rain, we networked, I guess, a bit, and so we actually are acapella groups.
You guys working together?
Yeah, so
he just his acapella group just performed at my concert, my acapella group's concert the other night.
Wow.
Yeah, and so with all the opportunities that you get to just basically like try in the sense of performances, several different performances you can make it to and do your best or not your best. So basically what I'm trying to say is that with that experience under your belt, you don't have to really put it under your resume for other people to notice that in you and see your potential, basically. And so, so it's really awesome.
Now, when you went in going through the tour itself, did you see yourself, and first of all, I think one of your first performances was at a park where there was like 12 people, because it was like 4:30 or something in the afternoon. It was going to be a hot day. It was a Portland Parks location, so the people weren't going to come for the movies in the park until sometime like around 7 o'clock or so. And there was so few people there, you minus staff and our family members and friends. There was hardly anyone there, but it's still a singing performance, whether it's one or a billion people, right? Do you feel like from when you first started the tour to when you finally got through the tour in the Columbia Park, I think it was the last one for you, that you grew in that period, or that you learned a lot, or do you think you just had most of what you came with?
I completely learned basically everything that I could have, and that was a lot. So
Okay.
just basic things like presenting yourself well. I remember that I valued dressing nicely, but
Right.
now anytime I'm going to performance, I'm thinking about, okay, what would Dennis say about this wardrobe choice? And
Right.
it really does make a difference. Another thing that I'd say that I learned is that, well, in this field, there's a lot to learn. And
Right.
it's a field where you can only really learn it by experiencing it.
Right.
So one of those things was that when you're performing, the people in the audience don't want to see you fail. And
Right.
that was one of the things that I didn't realize from the get-go. But as I continued on with the tour, I just became a lot more comfortable,
Sure.
happy, understanding of what it means to really entertain a crowd
Sure.
and get their energy and give it back to them. And that is really just something beautiful. We learned that we have to not only show up, but we have to show up prepared
Right.
and super prepared
Yep.
and ready to take on whatever happens. So
And in that regard, I mean, the important thing is to understand is that when you show up, there's no guarantee that anyone else is, right? And especially if you're one of only one or two talent, there's a good chance that the other person is going to be delayed, canceled, family emergency, things happen. That's why we always schedule 7 to 12 people to show up for an hour event, because we could have, 2 or 3 people drop off, no problem. Things happen, we understand that. But the important thing is that we have people to perform.
yeah,
But if you're coming in by yourself, or you're coming in with one other person, you don't know if you're going to have anything there. So you got to come in knowing, you know what, it may be
Yeah.
me.
to be learning that skill of adaptability at such a young age was just so beneficial. I can't think about where I would be had I not had all those opportunities. Now
Good.
I would have to learn all that
Some other way.
some other way, and I don't understand. I can't think about how I would do that without this program.
Well, and that's why we have a summer tour. The city of Portland created that originally. But the important thing is that we believe that it's a valuable experience that every student, in order to learn confidence, not only themselves, but their abilities, and be willing to step outside their box and to talk to the audience. You had to introduce each other. You had to, be introduced by other people, not just me. Get on the stage without falling off or knocking the person off that's coming on before you. In one case, not breaking equipment from the band that's on stage, not with you, but another person, her year actually. She wasn't there, I don't think, but it does happen. But the important thing is we appreciate everything you do. And so that's pretty much all we have time for. I want to thank you guys very much. And for anyone that wants more information about the program, you go just to teenidol.org and learn everything you want. Send an email to me. The email address is put out through the show, or just dennis@teenidol.org, and we'll help you out. Sponsor, donate, volunteer, whatever. Thank you very much for watching IPO. We hope you all had a great performance, or you appreciated the show, and we got something out of it. I hope you guys did too. And thank you guys so much for
Thanks.
watching.
welcome back to IPO, and as you notice, we had the first hour on these young folks. That was awesome. It was an awesome show. I tell you what, and we're doing this right here in Portland. I mean, Teen Idol type situation.
Yeah.
It's a very, very neat program, and I hope they just continue to do that. In fact, we might want to bring them on back again.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very interesting
He's
thing.
available.
He's available. That makes it
Right.
nice, and too. Maybe we can get some of these kids to sing or something of that nature. Well, you know, that's such a good thing, you know, about trying to bring...
Actually, when he had the large studio,
Yes.
they did sing and they did different
Wow,
things.
awesome.
Really,
It was awesome.
Good
Awesome.
show.
Well, look here, you know, the thing that got me about that, Rich, is the fact of the matter is that we're kind of like going in a kind of a negative kind of a situation here in the Portland metropolitan area. We're getting some very negatives around the country, for that matter.
Yeah,
and
right.
you know, we're looking for what happens to the city of roses. You know what I mean, for a change. You got me?
That's
We just
right.
recently had the Rose Festival, and it wasn't like the Rose Festival before with nice big floats and on
Oh, really?
on regular commercial TV aspect of it. It was just on a second tier kind of a channel 13. And it was just really a sad situation. The floats were not as whatever, the enthusiasm wasn't there.
Okay.
And so, but this is just kind of a sign that we do have the enthusiasm here in our city, but we got to bring that at the front of the table. And what I mean by that is the show that we're going to probably be getting into right now, we're going to have a discussion you're very familiar with too, is that we just recently had a large protest downtown Portland,
Okay.
June 4th, if you will, downtown. And that was a kind of interesting situation. Kind of the Trump group, i.e. there was a young man by the name of Joey Gibson, who had basically taken out a permit, remember, to speak at the at the park aspect of it. And then all of a sudden there was a counter group that didn't want him to be there, so to speak. And so then all of a sudden you had all kinds of folks coming in from all over the country, coming in the area and whatever. And it was really it was a situation. So what I thought was that why not see if we can get access to both of those in Portland, people from this area, so to speak.
Okay.
And so I was able to get young Gibson, a young man who basically took the permit out,
Okay.
and got the other gentleman by the name of Joe Walsh. He's
right.
a very recognizable person in City Hall and here in the Portland area, and he's sort of like the other side, if you will. And I got both of these individuals to agree to come on the show, come on
Okay.
Oregon Voters Digest, and I was able to do that.
All right.
And then this past Sunday, and so the whole idea here was that to give them the opportunity, each of them, to define what they each do and where, and you know, what are they doing and where are they going, if you
Right.
will, in both
Okay.
areas. And that's what I did Sunday, okay?
Okay.
And then the idea was that after they've done that, then next week, or actually it's coming Sunday, we're going to do kind of a debate type deal where both of the individuals will be at the table.
Oh,
you got me?
okay.
And then we'll have a discussion again. And the whole idea is to try to see if we can get to a solution. And that's what it is. And I think that's the right direction to go. Okay. And it's a very difficult one, but they agreed to it. And I'm looking forward to, you know, doing some things. And again, like I said, you know, we were here doing the City of Roses, you know what I mean?
Right.
And all of the positive things. And so why not see if we might be able to get some things going now? Because now you're hearing all kinds of things like back east, there's the shootings and this, that, and the other. That was
Incredible.
horrific. Then we had our own local stuff with the TriMet train aspect of it.
That was national
that was
news.
horrific. That was a horrific aspect of it. You saying?
Even Rush Limbaugh brought that up
Yes,
today.
yes. Oh, this is it's tough. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And so we've got to do something about it.
Here in the Pacific.
That's what I'm saying. That this is kind of something we're trying to put on the table to see whether or not we might get some folks started. Kind of like
Yeah,
the old mustard
right.
seed, right? You got me? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? So that's kind of what we're going to be doing tonight. We've got a taping. That's what we're going to be doing.
Okay.
We're going to be running a tape, if you will, a videotape of the show that I did Sunday, this
Okay.
past Sunday, where both of these individuals are talking to one another, and I think you'll enjoy them. As soon as they get those right, we'll just jump right into it, and then what we'll do, we'll come back, and then we'll discuss what we thought about it. Okay? There you go, folks. Enjoy.
Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Thank you again.
Well,
for this
here we
segment
go
of
again.
Oregon Voters
I
Digest.
guess I'm
We're on
Bruce
right
Broussard,
now.
your host.
Oh, no, that's
Well, we're just going to get right into the business of this matter aspect of it. And you know, here in the Portland metropolitan area, downtown Portland, on June 4th, there was an issue. It was a Sunday, if you will, and there was all sorts of it was quite an event, if you will. There was all kind of unrest and this, that, and the other, and whatever. And I'm still saying it's still within my own mind and a lot of folks' mind. It's still unrest. Nobody knows why it even happened. And so this particular show, what we're going to do this hour is that's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what did happen, why did it happen, and where do we go from here. And what we're going to do with that, the way we're going to do that is that what I've done is that I've gone out and I've talked to a couple of people that may represent maybe each side, not necessarily the total aspect of it, but folks who were involved in the issues that we were looking at Sunday. And so I've got them on today. I've got two gentlemen out here, and very neat guys. Now here I am. I'm still at that senior citizen age. You understand, Joey? But I've got Joey Gibson right here to my right, to your left on the tube, and I've got Joe Walsh who's going to be on after this, and he's going to spend 30 minutes with us. And Joey's going to basically talk to. He was the guy that basically got the permit, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And I'll just in a crude way, the First Amendment, freedom of speech, so to speak, that came out in some of the marketing and this, that, and the other. And then some things transpired with reference to that. And then Joey, on the other hand, I've known him in many ways. You might have seen Joey at City Hall. He's probably the only guy that I know of, but he's a hard-nosed, because he's the Department of the Marine Corps. Joe Walsh. he's there. But Joe and I, we've been around for quite some time. But anyway, Joe has been very much involved in issues at City Hall, and you'll see him, and we'll get some we'll get some response from him also too. So that's what we're going to do today, and I want to welcome Joey. Joey, welcome.
Thank you.
Bo's dad just here, and we're just going to get right into this issue aspect of it, and we'll start off, Joey, from the standpoint of just real briefly. Who's Joey? You got an organization. The name of the organization was
Patriot Prayer.
Patriot Prayer. That's kind of an interesting kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Where'd you come up with that one? Kind of real quick.
Well, it came down to two things, I guess, freedom and God, basically.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's where it came
So
from.
Patriot Prayer.
Yeah.
That kind of makes sense. Okay. All right. Good. And how long has the organization been existing?
Maybe 5 months.
5 months.
Yeah.
Wow, that was. And what spurred you to get into that arena type deal?
Basically, what happened was San Jose in California last year during the Republican primaries. There's a Trump rally, and a bunch of people left the rally, and a lot of them were yelled at, cussed at. There's some violence. Some people were attacked.
Mm-hmm.
There's that woman who was getting all that eggs and stuff thrown at her.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that moment in time once I realized that America is changing. It's turned into a different place. And I also realized that a lot of that violence, a lot of those kids who are attacking those Trump supporters probably don't know the full story and probably aren't even going to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like they were being used. And so I went down to the RNC. Once Trump had won the primaries, I went down the RNC in Cleveland and walked the streets for a week, and I saw
Republican National Convention. That type of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
In Cleveland. So once Trump had won that, so I went down there and I walked the streets. I got a camping spot and I basically walked downtown for a week straight.
Mm-hmm.
And I met a lot of people who didn't like Trump, didn't like, the conservative,
Mm-hmm.
libertarian point of view. But a lot of them were passionate and a lot of them were good people. And some of them weren't good people, but a lot of them were. But the one thing that I noticed is all of them were passionate.
Mm-hmm.
And that affected me. And so I realized, though, that the street belongs to the left. And so I came home just passionate, and I learned a lot, and I was committed to bringing the libertarian conservative movement to the streets.
And you're married too, right?
Yeah.
Married, kids,
Yep.
well?
Yep, married, kids.
Your kids, though. You do as you're told at home, right?
Yep. Yes, sir.
So you got into this, but you are a Trump supporter.
I am a Trump supporter, but I do not worship politicians, and we have 3 more years. Let's see, I like that we're investigating him. I think that's a good thing. Let's investigate everything. Let's get everything out on the table. Mm-hmm. I believe every single president that we've had since Reagan, I believe we saw anyone with half a brain was able to see that they're corrupt, once that first 4 years was up.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get through these 4 years and let's have an honest conversation about what he did, what he accomplished. In my opinion, Trump will either make our government smaller or make it bigger. The corruption will either increase or decrease. And that's all that matters to me. And so that's what's important to me, and I have an open mind about it. And it's not just about politics. It's also about our culture. I want to change our culture. I believe we have some cultural poisoning going on right now, and it doesn't matter if we get the best president in the world, the best politicians in the world. The people are going to have to solve that problem. The government will not be able to solve that.
You make a good point there, because before the election, the population, they were always taking polls. People were all upset with the whole issue of politics.
Yeah.
And even in Washington, if you will, they wanted to clean and that's why that term came out. Clean the swamps or
Drain the
something
swamp.
drain the swamps or something of that nature. So that atmosphere was already there.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we got into formality, if you will, of running for office from that same group aspect of it, all of a sudden that was sort of like set aside, but the issue was still there on the minds of the folks that were objecting. And I think that's where that divide, the major divide, came from. Because, it's kind of like saying who's in the White House, who's not in the White House.
Right.
You got me?
Yeah.
So I wanted to throw that particular piece in. Now let's get back down here to Portland, the 4th of June, if you will, and you've got a permit for that. And then the issues were already stirring around right at that point in time. And so let's talk about, one, you got a permit. What was your rationale for getting the permit? And then at one point in time, then all of a sudden this excitement about there's going to be some problems, and then I guess the mayor approached you from the standpoint of why don't you withdraw the permit, stuff like that. Just go any way you want to go.
Actually, the mayor never asked me.
He never did.
No, he said he did, but he never did. He set up a meeting with me to meet on a Tuesday. He went out and did a press conference on a Monday and said that he's going to ask the federal government to pull my permit. And then I went in to meet with him the next day, and he said, Joey, I'm not here I want to respect your First Amendment rights, and I want to make sure everyone's safe. That's why we're here right now. He never asked me to not do the event.
He never asked you to pull it?
Not even through his administration, not through the police, no one.
But that's not what was said in the press. You
Absolutely,
know what I'm saying?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And there were several people in that room, so, he never, and I told him, I said, well, what you said yesterday, it sounded like you don't want to respect my First Amendment. And also another thing you said yesterday is it doesn't seem like you wanted to make it safe, because if he really wanted it to be safe, he would say exactly what happened with Jeremy Christian, what happened in terms of, he doesn't even have to say Jeremy Christian has nothing to do with us, but he could say Jeremy Christian showed up to this event, this march, and he, caused a huge, he was yelling and cussing at everyone, causing a big problem, and a bunch of people from our group continually asked him to leave. Even, we're in a public space, so legally we can't, but, and the video is out there, and he had an opportunity to calm down Portland. Let's make the protests about my ideology, not about two men who gave it all, because Jeremy Christian is a hateful man. And so, he didn't make it very safe, and then they had that town hall meeting, and that lady's calling me a terrorist and this and that, and he just kind of, and it's whatever. I don't want to make this about the mayor and myself.
Right.
I just think that he needs to step up and be a leader and do what he thinks is right. It just seems like when I talk to him, he just seems like he's afraid. He's afraid to speak out for what he believes in. I think that he's concerned about his voters, which is he's a politician. But yeah, so basically, the whole thing for me, what I want to do, what I'm really passionate about, is going to the most liberal areas, okay, and just going in there and having an opposing point of view. That's all it is. And it's about promoting freedom and Christianity, and people can be against that, people can disagree with it, but let's do it in the right way. Let's not do what Antifa does. And I know they don't represent all the left, but let's not make threats. I know threats come from both sides, but let's not make threats. Let's not yell. Let's not scream. Let's not cuss. Like, let's come together and let's have a disagreement, but let's not try to chase people out of town. That's happening too much. And so that's why I'm saying, at a certain point, I've said this many times, at a certain point, as a nation, we need to be against all forms of hate. We don't get to be against hate 50% of the time, or pick and choose. We don't get to use hate to fight hate. We need to come together and we need to say, we can agree to disagree, okay? But let's be against all forms of hate. Let's say that white men cannot be hateful to black men. Black men can't be hateful to white men, brown, whatever. Women should be respectful to men. Men should be respectful to women. That's what I'm saying. Let's look beyond. I think there's this idea that we're allowed to pick and choose. So a lot of people, on the extreme left will say that it's okay for a black man to be racist against a white man. I think that that's poison right now. I think that we should love each other and respect each other, period. So.
Okay. Now, let's get back to that permit piece. Now, you got a permit.
Through the federal government.
Through the federal government, right. And that was right in front of, with the Shrunk Park?
Terry Shrunk Plaza.
Shrunk Plaza aspect
Yeah.
of it. Okay, fine. So you got the permit. Now you're having the deal. Now when did the confrontation stuff started, if you will, about your
Confrontation started like 8 months ago when I threw my first rally. Like, what do you mean when did it start? Antifa's been following me around for a long time now.
Oh, geez.
And I know that they don't, and a lot of the liberals have teamed up with them. But yeah, they've been following me around and they don't like my message, so they try to drown it out and they spread lies. Some members of Antifa, I have to admit, are older and mature and have reached out, and I've had excellent conversations with them, and they have opened my eyes to specific people who are a problem. They believe me that I'm not a Nazi. They label a whole group as Nazis, but they point out specific people, and so that's important, and I appreciate that, and they opened my eyes.
Okay, so now you got the permit. Okay, you got the permit, and you're having the event, right? Okay, and that was pretty well secured too. I guess the federal government was there, the highway department, was state highway, I guess, the officials were there.
Portland Police.
Portland Police were there, aspect of it.
Private security.
And then now you've got, I take it you had some folks from Multnomah County Republicans, some of your speakers. Who are some of your speakers?
Actually, there was only one guy. The chairman. Yeah, he actually asked me to speak. I didn't even know he was going to show up. He asked me to speak like 5 minutes before the rally started. So this has people think I have some connection with the Republican Party, but it's not true. I don't even talk to him. The first time I talked to him was that day. Now there's that connection because he's dealing with the same stuff I am in terms of that article about him wanting to use the militia for security. I don't know if you saw that.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
And so they called me and asked me questions too, and so we were both in the article. But
I see.
In terms of, I'm sure we'll work together in the future because we're both dealing with the same stuff. But I'm not part of the Republican Party.
But you're part of the Libertarian. You're part of the Libertarian.
I'm more Libertarian, but I'm not even part of the Libertarian Party.
Okay.
I'm gonna vote for anyone that I agree with. I'm not. Every situation is different. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to put myself in a box.
Right. Well, in order to vote, you got to be a part of some party. I got you.
Right.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
In all due respect, I'm in the same boat. I've been a Republican for a long time, but I'm a Lincoln Republican because I want people to go back and talk about that history in terms of how that all derailed as it relates to an African American. Right?
Yeah.
You got me. But in all due respect, I had to take my shingle. I took my shingle out of the Republican Party. And I went to the Libertarian Party, so I'm a Lincoln Republican, and I can vote because I'm still a registered Libertarian. If I wasn't a registered, I'd have to be belong to somebody, independent or whatever. But anyway, but I'm just kind of like saying to you, that's your choice. You can do what you want to do. Okay, so now that we've done that kind of a situation, now we got all these tags. Now we've had this deal, and there was all kinds of confrontations and whatever during that particular aspect of it. Were you confronted in some way, shape, or form while you were there before you ended that particular event?
I was confronted when we left by several people who were trying to provoke us.
Okay.
And I've had several liberals reach out to me and apologize and say that doesn't represent Portland. That's not what Portland is about. They're cussing at us, yelling at us. I think they're trying to get me to respond in hate or punch because they hear me constantly preaching about being respectful no matter what, and responding in love. And we really, as much as people make us to seem differently, we don't believe in violence. We will never punch someone because of their speech. If we get attacked, then we're gonna defend ourselves. That's our God-given right. But in terms of someone can yell and cuss at us as much as they want, we're not gonna hit.
Okay.
But there were several liberals that did come in, which is a good thing. That's what we wanted. We had, as long as your face was uncovered, you were allowed in, and as long as you weren't causing any problems. And we had mixed reactions. Some would just make fun of us, but there was others that said, Joey, I'll probably never agree with you, but thank you for having a positive message.
Okay.
Because I tried.
Okay.
I tried really hard to have a positive message. But I've had several liberals reach out after who saw some of the film, and a lot of them thanked me. And people have also been asking me about the anarchists and the Antifa. They're asking for advice because a lot of them are afraid to, because I called for them to disown them. A lot of them are afraid to do it in public. They fear violence. And so I think that's something we can all work on together in terms of me disowning the people who want to say they're extreme right.
Right.
Those Nazis who I don't even see them. They're just, it's frustrating. And any white supremacists, you know, we can work together to disown them or the violent ones, and also disown the violent anarchists or violent Antifa or the ones, anyone, people on the extremes who are using threats of violence or using hate, spewing out hate, and they're doing it to divide all these people who are around here in the middle. You know, these people are tearing everyone apart right now. So I see that as an opportunity to work with people.
Why is it that police doesn't react to those specific individuals when you?
It's a great question. I think that's something that needs to be talked about. As you know, I support the police as a whole, as a general, but it doesn't mean that I support the individual police officer on the street. But in terms of their technique of how they do things, if there's issues, let's fix that. You know, if they're too rough on a group, if they label a whole group as anarchists, okay, and they disperse that whole crowd, I can see, I can see that's something to talk about. If an individual officer is violent or kills someone, let's throw them in jail and throw the keys away. You know what I mean? But I haven't seen the film of how. All I know is they cleared out that whole park, and I'm sure there's tons of peaceful protesters in there. But I don't know how they're going to pick individuals out when someone's throwing stuff. So that's hard. I don't know, but that's definitely something to talk about.
But I guess my point is that obviously if you can see someone throwing something, throwing something, maybe mass and throwing something aspect of it, that person should be, i.e., identified, right?
Yeah.
Can someone point that out? Would there be a problem with pointing, hey, look, or even helping out get that person? Got my point?
Yeah. Well, their technique is so that the police will have no idea who did it. That's why they do their black bloc. That's done on purpose, so they can, they all look the same, and they all blend in. And so, that's why
it's a training kind of a deal.
Yeah, it is training. That's why the left needs to separate themselves from them, because there's a lot of legitimate people on the left that just want to protest. Look at May Day. May Day got shut down because a couple of kids wanted to cause problems. So
interesting. Okay, now look here. I want to get going to this particular point right now. Here we are today, trying to figure out what is the next event. Well, a lot of these things is now shifted, if you will, still in the Portland metropolitan area, but i.e. in the black community, so to speak, okay? Then all of a sudden letters, you've been seeing the newspapers aspect of it, about the KKK and this, that, and the other, and this, that, and the other. And this is one particular letter, and I'm just going to be straight up about it, right up front with you. A lot of folks are very nervous about this situation, and naturally people are reacting on the one side and saying, well, gee, we better prepare ourselves because this is going to happen. We're trying to prevent that kind of thing from happening, aspect of it. So this is the letter and I'm gonna just read it. I think I can read it. I'm gonna read it.
People need to know what it says.
They need to know what it says. I mean, just right up front. Naturally, I don't like the idea of reading it, but the point is that we need to understand this is on the street, and we need to know who wrote this piece. Okay, this is what it says: to all nigger lovers and niggers, our President Trump has issued an executive order to kill all niggers. Niggers will die at this so-called good in the hood. That President Sean Penny needs to keep his mouth shut before my 30-06 does it for him. Once a slave, always a slave. White power to the fullest. This is my freedom of speech. We, the white KKK, now own the North and Northeast Portland. So let that black monkey-eating piece of shit know. We are watching him and his family. The good in the hood will not happen unless you want to see a bloodbath. White power, Trump supporter, freedom of speech. What do you say about that? What do you think?
I think that's a huge problem. I think that's people trying to put fear into other people's hearts, and I really hope that they don't cancel it, because that's what they do. That's what on both sides they do threats to try to have fear control people, and. Obviously, I'm sure, the police are aware of that, so hopefully they can be down there to protect the good in the hood. And if there's anything that we can do, I know that a lot of us probably aren't welcomed in places like that, but like we would do anything to help them to make sure that was safe. I mean, we would provide security, we would provide people. That's something, see, this is what's important to me. I want people to feel free to go out and to do stuff, especially, they're going to have this event, Good in the Hood. The fact that people are trying to scare them pisses me off. That's not okay.
And it's a diverse group. Understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's a diverse group, but they have that right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that area is kind of like identified, if you will, as the black community. See, to
Right.
me, it's a community where a number of the residents happen to be black.
Yeah.
It's not a total black community. You know what I'm saying? You got me? So good. In fact, I will make sure that I contact this person. I know you. And then at some point in time, if it's necessary, if it's cool, he can call you. And if you want to offer it, you're offering it right now publicly.
Yeah, absolutely.
If he wants to be a participant up there, hell, we can ride up there together. I'll get my car, and we'll all ride together. In fact, I'll even get Joe in there with me. I don't know. He's going to be talking to him in a minute. But anyway, this is something that we want to make sure we want to clear up, that this is not something that your particular group is in any way supports it one way at all, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. I got tons of people within my so-called group. I don't really have a group, but they contacted me and sent me this, and they're furious because, you know, the question is who did it. That's the question, right? We got to get down to that.
Okay.
And the fact that they said free speech in it several times, like it's obviously trying to take a hit at what we're doing. You know, it's not a coincidence that they came out right after the rally, right? A free speech rally.
Right.
And so we're concerned about it, but we want to support Portland with anyone who's being peaceful and coming out. Like, I don't care if this is what people need to understand. I don't care if you're an extreme, if you're communist and you're out there marching and you're peaceful and you're not breaking the laws and people are trying to shut you down, we would protect you, even though we don't agree with anything they say. If anyone is having issues with their freedom of speech, you know, on the left or whatever, we will be there for them. You know, just like the gay parade. You know, we're having issues with freedom of speech up there in Seattle, and we might have to get involved. We might have to end up marching in there to protect a certain group that's being kicked out. So we're here for everyone. People don't see it that way. They don't understand that, but eventually the more they get to hear me speak and talk to us, they'll understand that. And my beliefs aren't really gonna, you know, my beliefs are, I have a foundational thing, but I'm very flexible. You know, there's certain core values that I rely upon, you know, and everything else is on top of that. So.
Well, in all due respect, that's one of the reasons why I've invited you over here, because to give you an opportunity, if you will, to share your feelings and your thoughts and to be able to express yourself accordingly. You got my point?
Yeah.
And now we're addressing this issue. See, it's on the table, and hopefully the viewing audience will get to the mayor or whomever for that matter. Because, you know, I was thinking about the Rose Festival parade. I was looking at it the other day, yesterday, and it wasn't on commercial TV like it used to be. You know, like the City of Roses kind of routine, big festive kind of a deal aspect of it. They had it on a separate channel. It wasn't even on the main channel aspect of it, and you could see it was small and it wasn't that much involved. But then when you look at it though, you see a lot of the seniors there and a lot of the kids, they still love the idea of the clowns and all the activities and whatever. But they didn't have that opportunity. You see what I'm saying? And so right now, the City of Roses is being projected as the whitest city in the country, that type of deal, and that's put in such a negative fashion, kind of a routine. So the key is that part of what I'm looking at doing, part of doing what we're doing right now, is time to rebuild. We need to go back up to other situations. See what I'm saying? So that's why one of the reasons I wanted to have you here, and I want to share this piece. And I wanted to make sure we address this piece. That's the key. Got me? And then I don't like the idea of using the word niggas, because it does tend to put fuel to the fire in terms of distress and whatever. But
that's why that word was used.
Just exactly. And so people need to know that that's there. Got me? And you're right. I will definitely get to the some of the sponsors, some of the folks who are actually involved in putting that issue up as far as Good in the Hood, and get you guys to communicate with one another. And if they can use your support in the end of it, fine, or vice versa. But at least we're communicating, and they know for a fact you're the person that's running that particular organization, and you know your people. Not that you can control all the other elements that are there, but the fact of it is they'll know who you are.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
That's very fair.
Good. And then what I was going to do, and then my last question would be, is that next I'm going to have Joe, and Joe's going to spend his time aspect of it. And at the end of the day, if things work out pretty good, because you still have to deal with your folks, the folks that you relate to, got me, and vice versa with his. But see if we can have some kind of a little debate where we kind of talk. That's it's not a debate more than it is a question and answer deal. We ask you a question, we talking. That's what it is, right? Is that fair?
That has nothing to do with my people, though.
That's right. But I'm just
I
saying.
do what I want.
I can see that.
Yeah.
If I was still in the Corps, you'd be gone the next week. You know that, don't you? Okay. But anything else? Anything else you want to say? What are you going to do now? What's your next?
Well, the next thing is Evergreen State College.
Evergreen State. Okay.
You know, we're gonna go down there and just march down there, have a couple speeches, then just use chalk to write messages, because I've had several students reach out to me and say that they've been bullied and intimidated. I've had, you know, even liberal students reach out to me. You know, that professor that refused to leave, you know, I don't like the way that he was treated, because they wanted everyone to leave based off of your skin color. Like I said, I think we should fight all forms of racism, not just part of the time. It should be all the time. And then you know, we got some other event. July 2nd, we're going down to LA, but basically August is going to be a month where we have some really big rallies all over the West Coast. July, we're going to take some time off to prep and stuff.
What's the wife saying about all this stuff? The wife and the kids, man. I mean, what's the wife saying about that stuff? Huh?
There's a funny picture. She was at the rally, and someone took a picture of her next to me. Yeah. And it was a guy who doesn't like me, but he said this looks like, because she looked all concerned, and she's like, this looks like a woman who's questioning her life choices. No, but she supports me. Yeah. She's scared, but the one thing, she wants me to have a purpose in life. That means more than anything to her, you know, and me too. I mean, I want to have a purpose. I'm in this 100%. That's why I'm doing it. You know, it's pretty stressful. A lot of people hate me, but I'm committed. You know, I gave it all up to God. So.
Well, you know, in all due respect, you know, when I was coming up, I'm basically the same way. But I had an outlet. It was called the Marine Corps, see? And I got the Marine Corps boot camp, you know. I mean, I was raw every day. Yeah. You know, drop me in the jungle and I'll come back. I don't need anything but a switch. I mean, my point is that that's all that adrenaline and all this, that, and the other. And unfortunately, we don't have that outlet thing now. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I don't know. It's not time when people start talking about the draft. Oh no, blah blah blah. But you know, we still have a country. You know, we got to maintain. You know, things are getting very, very difficult at this point in time. Finding leadership is tough. Yeah. Finding leaders is tough. No man's an island, right? You got it. And so it's a tough deal. But hey, we're gonna work this thing out. Yeah. Is that fair? Absolutely. Okay. We're gonna take a short break, and I'm gonna have Joe here, and hopefully you'll stick around and listen to what Joe has to say. Okay? Yeah. That's definitely. Cool. Let's take a short break. My friend Joe here with me, Joe Walsh. You've seen Joe. He was on the show here once before with me, right? Yes. And then we did Multnomah County. We did the veterans thing. Remember, you and I?
That was pretty cool. I like that. Pretty cool.
We did a veteran thing, and we were honoring veterans of Memorial Day, and naturally we were trying to make sure that the brother who just died on that whole incident,
Mr. Betts.
Mr. Betts, got recognize the fact who he was and got it burial, right?
Yes.
He was buried that way. And we had Army, Marine Corps, Air Force, Coast Guard. We had Coast Guard there too.
Coast Guard.
Okay, right. And it was really great, and it was kind of a neat kind of a deal, because we also talked a little bit.
Yeah, he was a great hero.
He was a heck of a hero aspect of it. It's unfortunate that happened that day, but we did that. And I might add that I want to thank Deborah Kafori again for giving us the opportunity. She's the chair of Multnomah County, gave us the opportunity to do that right there in the boardroom. I thought that was great. And I might add too that, you know, I'll just be straight up with it, and hopefully Ted will come to the table at some point in time. I did approach the city of Portland to do the same thing, but they did not want to participate. I mean, I made several calls, and they posed the call or whatever. And as you note, that same day, I went to Ted, and right in front. Yes. But he didn't reach out. But hey, Mr. Mayor, you know, you can come out anytime you want to. You sit right here at the table, and you know, as far as I'm concerned, you are elected mayor of the city of Portland. Now,
and we're non-violent. We don't bite.
And that's right. I know I don't.
I'm not gonna bite him.
Well, Joe, look here. You just got through hearing
Joey Gibson, right? Joey?
Yes.
And I thought he was quite an interesting young man, very neat young man, very family-oriented man. And typically when we were young, we would kind of had that little adrenaline too at times.
Yes.
Is that fair? Is that fair to
Yes.
say? You got me? Well, I started thinking about when I was in the Marine Corps boot camp aspect of it. Wow! And when I graduated, and I was the guide on for that unit aspect of it. And they could have, as far as I'm concerned, I had so much adrenaline. I mean, they could just basically take me up in one of those choppers or something, or whatever, or Huey or whatever, and drop me in the jungle with nothing, and I could come back. I mean, that's the kind of adrenaline I had during that time. You got me?
I wasn't going to do that one.
And you couldn't do that?
No,
I felt that with Jordan. Then I got to be.
I came from Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn?
If you dropped me in the jungle
Yes.
with nothing,
Yes.
yeah, they would eat me.
Really?
Yes,
Well,
they would eat me in
Well,
couple days.
I thought you were in Brooklyn.
I'd eat lunch.
But I thought you were in Brooklyn.
Well, Brooklyn is tough.
Huh?
It's totally
Not that
different than the
tough?
jungle. No,
Okay, all
would
right,
not
all
survive
right,
the
all
jungle
right. Well, I guess
at all.
okay. I guess we better go on and get serious here aspect of it. We talked about this before aspect of it, but hey, let's talk about the 4th of June. What happened the 4th of June, and just lay it out to us. I'm gonna give you the floor.
I think, in my opinion, that the police department tried to murder me.
Really?
Now, I was in Chapman Park. I was among the anarchists. I was also among 500 people that were in that park.
Okay.
There were 500 people in Lonsdale, too. There were over 1,000 people in those two parks.
Okay.
All right? There were anarchists obviously agitating the other side.
Okay.
Because that's what anarchists do.
Okay.
They agitate the other side.
Okay.
But there were hundreds of old people, kids. There were kids in that park. I saw some kids that were 4 or 5 years old, and we were kidding around with them. And I was sitting on a bench.
But why was Joe there?
Joe was there to stand in front of Joey
Okay.
and say, I think you're wrong.
Okay. Wrong about how?
If their positions, and this is the problem with this, what you just heard from Joey sounded really good. He sounded like one of the guys I would sit on a park bench with. One of the anarchists, or one of the nonviolent people, or one of the what I call cocktail liberals. All right? And his words were really good. I liked his words. But they're like what I branded Mayor Wheeler with. They're sugar words. They don't mean anything. All right? This is a very violent group. And if Joey says that he's not violent, his group is violent. We keep getting more and more information about people being threatened, about Nazi signs being put up, about codes on their helmets. You know, you cannot stand there and say, I'm a non-violent person, but I'm going to kill you, like that says.
Okay.
You can't do that. Now, we do that. We stand there and we say, we're nonviolent. If you hit me, I will not hit you back. I will be in your face. I will embarrass the hell out of you. But I will not hit you back. That's nonviolence, according to Gandhi.
But what about some of those other folks that are around you when you?
Okay, you mean the anarchists?
That's right. That's
Okay,
part. That's part
let's
of your
talk
group.
about the anarchists.
They identify with this group, right? You got-
As Joey said with his group
Okay.
and some of the affiliated groups
Right. Okay.
that he criticizes,
Right.
I criticize the anarchists.
Okay.
Are they perfect? No, they're not perfect. A lot of them are young. All right, they have a lot to learn. I've been doing this for 40 years.
40 years.
That's right.
Jeez, Joe.
And I don't know anything anymore
Gee, Joe.
because everything's turned upside down. Joey sat here and said, I support Trump.
Yeah. Right.
Trump supports the Russians. Can you imagine 10 years ago that Republicans or libertarians would be aligned with the communists? That's what they are. Putin is a communist. And he's buddies with the very guy you're supporting, which is weird. Everything is turned upside down.
But okay, I'm gonna follow this deal. Okay.
Because you guys used to say over and over again, years ago, commies are underneath the bed.
Okay.
Commies are coming. The Russians are coming. Remember that? Remember? Russians are coming. And now they're aligned with them. It's so crazy. So when Joey sits down here, and I really do hope we have a debate, and we can keep it reasonable, and he says something, those are sugar words. They don't mean anything.
Yeah, but those are his
I want to
words.
see the action.
Yeah, but no, but
I want to see
Okay.
them hold a group gathering without any security. No
But he
security.
can't do that with all these other outsiders, just like you can't.
Let the cops do it.
You okay now with
Did
the
I have security? No. I didn't have any security. I was sitting on a park bench
Yeah,
at
but-
Chapman Square
but
in
yeah,
the middle
Joe.
of the whole thing.
Yeah, but still, Joe.
Did Joey bother me? No.
Okay, okay.
Do I give him credit for that? Yes.
But what about these other folks that try to associate with you against him, his group?
They don't associate with me.
No, but my point is, but
Individuals for Justice stands by itself.
Yeah, but what about
we are
these
not
other
aligned
okay,
with the anarchists.
Okay.
We don't agree with many of their
okay,
basic concepts.
okay.
However, the anarchists have protected a lot of the cocktail liberals against the very people that Joey associates with. That's the problem. We have these two groups, and we have elements of both sides that are very militant, and they're the ones that are fighting.
But what if we? But what if
It's
we got?
Joey's job and my job
Okay. All right.
and your job and
right.
everybody else's
All right.
to try to figure out how do we stop that.
And that's what we're doing now.
And what we're saying,
that's what we're
what we're
talking about.
saying here,
Right, right.
and I hope Joey says it next week if we get into a debate.
Yeah.
If you commit violence, you're wrong.
Okay.
You're wrong.
Okay.
Period.
Yeah. Yeah.
You say self-defense is okay. I think it's still wrong because you hurt somebody, you hurt their family, you hurt their relatives. It goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
And we got to stop that.
Right.
Joey
On
and I,
both
if we
sides.
sit down next
On
week,
both sides.
maybe you'll get hot.
Yeah. Both sides. Both sides.
But
no, we've agreed to something.
we agreed,
We've agreed
you
to
don't
something.
touch.
We
No touching.
But my point is that
Mouth.
you can only control your particular group, right?
I
But-
can't
but if-
control my particular group. They're human beings.
Okay.
They're going to do what they want to do.
So if they touch someone,
They're wrong.
They're wrong. Okay. All right.
I don't
That's
care
a
what the
start.
reason is.
That's a
If
start.
you kill somebody, it's wrong. Even self-defense. You should be sad that you took a life.
Right. Right.
You may have to do it legally. You may get away with it.
Right.
But you should be sad.
Right.
You took a life.
Okay, let's talk about the fact that let's just get right down to the meat of the matter. Now, what about our communicating at City Hall, if you will?
The communication at City Hall is almost non-existent.
on this issue, on the issue that we're talking about now.
It's almost
'Cause I
non-existent
know
because
that-
you can't talk to this mayor. This mayor, number one, lied to Joey. Joey sat here and he said, no, we all thought from reading the newspapers and talking to each other that the mayor actually asked him personally to call this thing off because of the deaths of the two heroes and the one guy that was still in the hospital when the mayor was running his mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And then we find out he lied. He didn't ask him. And I'm not sure what Joe would have done if he was asked. I think if the words that he used with you is reality and not bull puppy, he might have said, no, okay, we'll postpone it. We'll figure something out
Okay.
because of these deaths
Okay.
and the actual horror that we all felt. I mean, I didn't know these guys. But I mean, I was broken when I heard this. I said, my God, these guys did what they were supposed to do. You can't yell at young girls like that. You can't do that.
Well, but
and then they lost their lives, two of them.
Well, but at the same time, if we want to spend a couple minutes in that end of it, aspect of it, I had sort of a quote exchange, if you will, with the gentleman, a Christian to a certain degree, but I had no problem with him. You know what I mean? I walked up to him and said, "Hey, what's the problem?" I had an natural uniform. He said, "Sir, I'm sorry." I mean, bang.
You're talking about Joey?
No, I'm talking about Christensen. I'm talking about the dude that basically...
The guy that slit the throat?
Yeah.
You talked to him?
Yeah, I said, hey, there's no problem with me. But my point is, I felt that the guy had some problems. He had mental problems then. And I felt that something should be taken care of. We got a problem in this city, in this city right now, we don't have a place where these folks can go, if you will, for medical attention, okay? We got mental issues right here. Got me?
Yes, and the county is the one that's responsible for
That's
mental
right.
health.
That's right.
And they set up this thing in I think in one of the hospitals, Emmanuel or something like that, for this very purpose. Here's the problem with this stuff. You got a human being that is suffering, and he or she is in the middle of the road and screaming, okay, and they have something in their hands. All cops will kill them.
Yeah, but
If it's black, they will kill him in a minute. If it's white, they may kill him. See what I'm saying? You're absolutely right. We have no protocol that we can go down and get this guy or this woman who's screaming and yelling, all right, and being very scary. We have no protocol. I can't understand that if you have 4 or 5 cops, big cops, that they can't take down someone my size.
Well, but they got
what is that?
All due respect,
Or a kid.
But you know, in all due respect, today's cop is not the quote the symbol, if you will, of authority. Because a lot of, i.e. through the whole issue of affirmative action, they have to get little people, they have to get women. I mean, don't get me wrong, they got to get little guys, and a lot of those folks are scared. They are scared.
A lot of the incidents of the person that was suffering a mental meltdown.
Right.
All right, there were hours. It wasn't right away. There's some of them that's right away. Boom, you got to make a decision right away. Okay. We can almost look at that, and you'll never get a conviction on that one. You'll never get an indictment against a police. However, some of them lasted hours. All right? You mean to tell me that we have all these hospitals around here, all these psychiatrists around here, all these cops around here, and we can't take down one woman? Would you give me a break? We take down tigers, for God's sakes, or mad dogs. We can't take down a woman.
So who's responsible for that?
The mayor.
The mayor.
He is the police commissioner.
He's the police. Yeah, he's the mayor.
Which is weird.
It
should never be that way, but it is. That's what we got.
But that's the way it is. Aspect of it.
That's
and
right.
They do have a union. They have a union. And
Yes, we have a union.
And you know what the definition of a union is, right?
Well, I used to be a chief union steward, so I'm a little biased.
Yeah, that's right. And you're biased, and there's no difference in the same situation what they are, right? They're biased. They don't tend to. They tend to not to respond to the mayor, right?
Of course they are.
You got me? So how do we fix that?
You mean a police union?
Yeah.
I think it'll take a lot of work. First of all, the police have been indicted by the Department of Justice for the last 4 years. They've been under indictment, mostly about medical, mostly about psychological breakdowns and how they react. They use excessive force. The Department of Justice found that out. That's not coming from me. When there's a problem and you recognize the problem, you sit down, you say, okay, what's the solution? Our problem is we've had 2 mayors now that won't even recognize the problem. Because all they keep saying is, I love the police department. Police department's doing a good job. And I love and even though that we drop bombs on the 4th on kids and old men like me, they chased me out of the park all the way up to 5th Avenue. Because if tear gas or any of that stuff got into my lungs, I would have been dead. So they pulled me out of the park. The anarchists pulled me out of the park. And one of them put me into a Veterans for Peace car and got me out of the area because they were so terrified that if I breathed in that stuff, I'd have been dead.
Let me ask Joe a question. I'm going to ask you a question. You tell me. I know you've been in this business, like you said, for 40 years. Why was Joe there that day?
I was there that day to stand in front of Joe and say you're wrong.
But okay.
That's what I was there for.
That's all, just to say you're wrong. Specifically,
Look,
was it a Trump thing more than anything else?
I believe
Okay.
that these guys are no different than the brown shirts in Germany, 1920s, 1930s, in the early years when they formulated. The brown shirts came out of working class guys, just like Joe, just like me, just like you.
Yeah.
That's where they came out of, all right? But they used to go through the streets, and what they would do is they would use their propaganda and tell people, got to think this way. And then in the 30s, when they got maybe 10,000, 50,000, they started to say, you know what? Those Jews over there, they cause all the problems. They were the ones that put Hitler into place.
But you still think that...
And Hitler turned around and screwed them and murdered them.
That's
And they were replaced by the Gestapo in 1939, somewhere around there.
and you feel there's a start of doing that now.
That's right. That's what we're afraid of. So I'll stand face to face with Joe and say you're wrong.
Okay. But can he do the same thing to you?
He's damn right he can.
Okay,
As long as he doesn't touch me.
Okay, well, but
No.
it works both ways, you know. It works both ways.
Yes,
right?
it
works both
always
ways.
works both ways.
Okay.
But I guarantee Joey, that I will not touch him.
Okay.
Will he do the same?
Okay, there you go, folks. We had about another 10 or 15 seconds, I guess about 30 minutes, another 4 or 5 minutes. But it shows where both of these individuals were shaking hands. At the end of the day, all three of us were shaking hands. You got me?
That's
In
right.
fact, if you go to Oregon Voters Digest YouTube, you can get the whole show again.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so they can go back to, you can do Oregon Voters Digest and get the whole show again. I just wanted to make sure that the guest here at this particular group gets to see what the deal. Okay, Rich? What do you think, Rich?
I think the first guy was very good representing the his thoughts on the whole thing. Just said he was a conservative, and I'm not sure if this other fellow made it clear what side he was on, or.
Well, hopefully we can clear some of that deal up.
Yeah.
When at the debate, so to speak. But actually, it's going to be a communication piece. And at the end of the day, hopefully we can agree to disagree or whatever. But the one thing we're going to start going into directions and start settling some of those issues that we're having downtown.
We got to thank our crew.
Yes.
Right, very much.
Yes, very
They're
much
the
so.
ones that made it all possible.
They did this. It was a really great show, and I really appreciate it.
That was a great show.
Good show.
And
Okay.
we thank the Dennis on the first hour for
Yes.
his deal.
Yes.
That was
That was a good show. Good
Right.
show. Good show. So thanks for joining us. Right.
Thank you.
Thanks for